All right, we should be live. I'm just going to check. Always want to check before you start. Let's make sure. Work with me, not against me, tech. All right, we're live. Okay, so guys, welcome to another segment of Is It Friday Yet? This is a very special one because I have a recruiter. We always want to pick the minds of recruiters. We want to ask them every single question of from how do we get better? How do we do better? How do we, become the greatest candidate of all time? So today is really going to be a treat. We have Alexandria Powell here, and she is a tech recruiter. I am actually going to let her introduce herself. But first, before we do that, if you guys don't know me, my name is Jordan. I am a career and confidence coach from Boss Life in Progress, where I help professionals not only build their confidence, but also learn to thrive in the workplace. And so, Alexandria, if you could introduce yourself, and then we will get going.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for having me, Jordan. So yes, I'm Alexandria Powell. I am a tech recruiter with MinTech Agency. At MinTech, we specialize in helping underrepresented candidates to find roles within the tech space. So we do work mostly with Black, Latinx, and women candidates to find roles such as software developer roles, project manager roles, business analyst roles. So all of the roles run the gamut. Um, and prior to joining MinTech Agency, I was in the nonprofit field. So I truly enjoy helping people to find, their dream jobs, is what I'd say.
Nice. And so you told us a little bit about yourself, and I always like to start off these interviews with asking the interviewee the dreaded question, tell me about yourself, but I'm going to kind of flip this for you. So can you tell me more about how you actually got into recruiting? I know you said you were in the nonprofit space, but how did you go from there to here?
So I was in recruiting within the nonprofit space. So I was, in that area. Prior to that, I was in the career development phase of things. So I helped individuals to find jobs. So, worked with them on strategies to find employment. And so, I've always worked with underrepresented individuals, whether that be individuals, who had various barriers such as disabilities, criminal histories, coming from marginalized group of individuals. So I've always kind of had that passion for helping people to find, what jobs suit them and what they want to do. So I thought, in my own career trajectory, the most logical thing to do next was be recruiting, so that I could be on the other side and be an advocate for people, people who look like me, and other individuals who don't necessarily have the opportunity or the ability to, speak up for themselves.
Awesome, awesome. And I know you talked a lot about diversity. I want to actually looked into the tech company that you're with. Um, it was very refreshing because I saw that you talk about like minorities and women, and you talk about how um, they might not have kind of like the same push as other groups in order to get not only into the workplace, but actually get jobs that they want. And so, can you kind of, I know you're in the tech space, can you kind of talk to the, what you think we might need as far as like pushing more minorities and women into the tech space?
So really, what you're all about, Jordan, confidence is so important. In any space, whether that's tech, whether that is, nonprofit, finance, education, whatever industry you're going into, when you have confidence, those barriers of coming from areas where we, especially as women, especially as Black women, we don't always speak up for ourselves, but when we
Mhm.
and we come, authentic, and with our confidence, I think that kind of helps us to stand out from anyone else. So I think definitely when it comes to um, advocating for yourself in anything that you do is so important, because if you're not going to advocate for yourself, then who is. You're the best person. You're the person who knows you and knows your capabilities. And so I think speaking to those capabilities, one thing that I used to do and I see a lot of people do is kind of talk about, oh well, I don't necessarily have experience with XYZ task,
Mhm.
instead of capitalizing on those tasks or those technologies or skills that you do have. And so you want to highlight those. So just being confident. And even if you're not the best at programming, talk about the things that you can do.
Mhm.
So it's so important to just have that confidence and to be an advocate for yourself.
I love that because like you said, I really do talk about confidence, and I talk about how showing your value, like you intrinsically know that you're valuable, but you need to be able to show that, especially when trying to like boost yourself up in your career. And you talked about advocacy. I really like that. Nobody is going to speak up for you the way you can speak up for you. And it's interesting you say that because I just did a live, I don't remember, couple of days ago where I was talking about networking and introverted versus extroverted people and how they can use their strengths differently to actually network. And so in tech, I think it's part, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's part skill, but it's also like part building that network, because you can have like a circle of tech people that all know each other, and that's how you can break into the field. So can you talk a little bit about kind of, since we're talking about minorities and women, can you talk about beyond just, okay, I need another certification, I need another degree. Can you talk about how networking in tech is really, really big right now, actually?
Yeah, so networking is, it's big in anything. I think everybody kind of thinks as tech as something that is so different from any other, job opportunity or field, when it's really the same. It's who you know in that field. That can help to propel you. So you want to find those people. Like I said, you're going to be your best advocate, but you want to also find those people who can advocate for you when you're not in the room. And
Mhm.
that's just as important in tech as it is anywhere else. And so it's so important to, for me, I'm an introvert. So for me,
Mhm.
I am the kind of person who likes to have one-on-one conversations.
Mhm.
I am the type of person who will direct message someone and have that one-on-one conversation because, being in a big group, I'm not going to speak up. And so I think you said it right in making sure that you play to your strengths. Definitely when you're in a group, make sure you have something to say. For me as an introvert, I have to prepare. Like, this is what I'm going to let this group know about me, because if you don't speak up, you won't be heard. But I think it is also knowing that, okay, um, I did my talking points in that group, but this is the person that I think is really going to be able to help me get to where I'm looking to go. And so then you reach out to that person and you let them know exactly what you're looking for. So I think it's really important to be strategic and intentional, whether you are introvert or extrovert, and that's just going to look different for whoever. So just like I said, being intentional and letting people know exactly what you want and what you're looking for, so that they can advocate for you and tell people, hey, I know this girl who is really interested in recruiting from the nonprofit sector, and I think her current job really aligns with your vision and the goal of your company. So you need to come with your story and make sure that you're telling people that story.
Love it. You used two words. You said strategic and intentional. And I think a lot of times when even I've done it before, where as a job seeker, you kind of just throw spaghetti at the wall and hope it sticks. And so with being strategic and intentional, I feel like if you're going to, let's say you're an introvert and you're just like, oh, I can't do it like in these large social settings, like you said, maybe you're not going to like speak up and be the loudest in the room, but you're strategically pinpointing those people that maybe afterwards you want to speak to, or maybe afterwards you want to message. That was one of the things that I talked about in my live. Like if you're an introvert, the internet is your best friend. Online is your best friend, because you don't have to spend all of your social energy talking to someone until you get to that phase. You can message them, you can do whatever until you actually get to that part where you're either on Zoom or on the phone or something like that. And so as a tech, I want to kind of pivot as a tech recruiter, because I know a lot of people in my audience want to get into tech. I mean, I feel like because it's so trendy right now, people are like, I need to go learn C++, C++ and Python. They just want to learn all these different like coding languages, and they want to learn different sides of tech just because it is so popular. So can you give the audience kind of a, like, let's say, what would your company be looking for in an applicant?
So I think it's really just depends on the role, the opportunity. So like I said before, your confidence in playing on your strengths is so important. If you are not good with programming or coding, then being a developer is not your thing. And just because it's a cool place to be, I don't go into into this world or into this field without knowing exactly what you want, and what you like, what you are good at. You have to know exactly, what role within tech. There are so many roles that don't require you to learn, specific languages, languages, tools, things of that nature, and find out what you do need to be able to propel yourself within that specific, if you, look into becoming a Scrum Master, looking into that Scrum Master certification. So really understanding where you're coming from, whether that is coming from the education industry. There are so many ed tech companies coming from the finance field. There are so many fintech companies. There are just, different companies that you can play to the knowledge that you already have, but understand, okay, what roles within those sort of companies would the skills that you currently have help you to exceed in. So I think it's just really important to, like I said, be strategic and understand what you want to do before you make that leap, or before you, apply for roles that you are not, you aren't going to be good at. Because as a recruiter, I can tell you, like, if it's just that you took a certification class, but none of your other experience has anything to do with this job, it's going to be hard for me to advocate for you, a hiring manager. I can't make something up that's not there. So definitely utilizing those things that you already have and making sure that those skills are evident on your resume.
Love that. I think a lot of times we get so caught up in the I need to know, like, the specifics, the languages, the all that stuff that comes with a certification, but people aren't really thinking about what they already know. People aren't thinking about those soft skills. Like you can like program all day, but how far are you going to get when you can't, communicate with another human being? How far are you going to get if you don't have those presentation skills or those type of leadership skills, those soft skills that people really need? So I think you brought up a great point about just showing them what you already have. And you brought up another good point that I want to touch on. You said that someone wants to get into tech and they go and they get a certification, but they have no type of experience on their resume. So for my people out there that are trying to transition, Can you give maybe a suggestion on, we know the certification, but can you give a suggestion on like getting some experience, whether it be like volunteering or, something of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think volunteering is a great way to even find out if it's something that you would be interested in. If you like, there are so many, new startups that you're able to, that you could, potentially start with. Maybe you are, they give you equity instead of, pay. So it
Mm-hmm.
something that you do on the side. There are uh, you can freelance. That's definitely a way to do things. But I think it's just really important to um, make sure that you are finding opportunities that are for you. Some people just don't, either they don't have the time or they need, to be able to work to feed themselves. So it's really, I don't always like to tell people to do like free work, but definitely find a way to be able to build your experience. If you're able to do something, on the weekends or on your in your free time. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but if you continue to network, I think you will definitely find people that will be able to give you those opportunities.
Yeah, I think those are all great suggestions. I'm big on like volunteering. I'm big on freelance work. I'm big on that. And like you said, a lot of times it's not an easy answer. It's not, hey, you get the certification and you're good, you're golden. It's because tech is technical, you're going to need some sort of experience. And whether it's from volunteering, freelancing, which obviously you can just, it doesn't have to be free. You can get paid for freelancing, but all those different types of avenues that you can go. And a lot of times what I tell people is there are stepping stone jobs, which can get you adjacent to the job that you want. So if you want something, I'm not super familiar with tech, but if you want something like a programming job, there are jobs that are programming adjacent that are being posted, and you may even find that a company is willing to pay for you to go to school or get these certifications if you not only know but express a lot of interest in that. I think we tend to think, okay, there's only one way to go about these things. There's only one way to get experience, one way to move up this career ladder. That's the only way. And you brought up a lot of non-traditional ways that you can not only get experience, but break into the industry. And in terms of breaking into the industry, I know people love to talk about interviews because people get stuck on that all the time. And as a recruiter, I'm sure you've done 1,000 interviews. So I wanted to ask, what is the difference between a great interview and just an okay interview, like in your eyes?
So I think what I would say would be a great interview would be someone who comes with that confidence, someone who comes with the knowledge that, I mean, that every one of us possess, because it's really, an interview is just talking about the skills you possess, the things that you bring to the table,
Mm-hmm.
and how you've executed, XYZ tasks that, you've had to utilize those tools or those skills. So I think it's really important for people to be able to articulate that, and be able to explain, exactly how they've utilized, or implemented a tool,
Mm-hmm.
within the question that I'm asking. So one thing that I always like to, ask or tell someone is, talk to me as though I know because, I'm a recruiter. I'm not, a software developer. So
Mm-hmm.
talk to me exactly like I am. I don't know anything about software developing. So I need you to explain to me exactly how you've utilized this tool that I'm asking you about. So, give me the rundown, how
Mm-hmm.
did you implement how did you implement it? How, what was the outcome? And so a lot of people, we utilize what is called, when you're interviewing, you utilize what is called either the STAR method. So you want to talk about the situation, the task that the situation that it is, the task that you did to complete it, I'm freezing up here.
The action, right? The action that
you took and the results. So that's one way. Another one is CAR. So CAR is also
is it context, action, result?
Yes. Thank you. So something that I think about all day, but yeah. So
you try to put words to
you want to be able to explain, this is what happened, or this is what was going on. This is how the action that I took, and this is the outcome. This is what happened as a result. So I think that people just have to, think about all of those questions that recruiters kind of ask, or that anyone, a hiring manager, is going to ask. The higher your interview, you go in the interview process, the more technical the interview is going to be, and that person's going to know exactly, whether or not you know what you're talking about. And I think if you can keep your interview questions that way, instead of, a lot of people kind of like to ramble when they get stuck. And I always say it's okay to ask questions, just like I just did. I stumbled there for a second. You could tell that I knew what I was talking about, but sometimes we get a little stuck, and it's okay to take a pause. It's okay to think, but some people will kind of talk through those sort of situations, and you don't always have to, because sometimes people tend to shoot themselves, in the foot. I think it's really important to just know what kind of person you are, and what, how you'll be able to execute those answers, and really finding out what tools you would be utilizing in this role that you are interviewing for, and make sure you have an understanding of every situation that you can use to answer questions that may surround it. So always double check the job description that you're applying for, or that you're interviewing for, and make sure that, based on the requirements of that role, you can answer questions surrounding those requirements.
Right. A lot of times, from what I've seen, behavioral questions, those are the like, tell me a time when, or they will literally take information from the job description to ask you these questions. And so if you familiarize yourself with that, not only that, just coming up with, I find that if I come up with stories and examples, and then I know my examples front to back, I can pretty much pivot if the question is slightly different. Like, tell us about a time when you showed leadership skills, or something like that. And so you're able to pivot whatever example you have and go from there. And I know a lot of people, it's not something that's normal, I guess. Interviews, like to have someone like staring at you and being like, oh, tell me about yourself. It's not normal. So I think everyone's going to get just a little bit nervous, but when you like sit in your nervousness and you kind of like work through it, it's going to be better in the long run, versus you're always trying to avoid it and you're like sweating buckets when you get in interviews. And I think you probably, as a recruiter, have seen like really great interviews and like really bad interviews. So I think, like you said, it's just all about confidence. It's be able to, maybe you're nervous. Maybe you're just like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen, but you're going to go in there and do your best. And so another pivot, because I know people want to hear about like, okay, how do I impress a recruiter? But for you, I don't know how many people like reach out to you, and like, what word am I trying to use? What is the, like, I can't remember the word. How do you like to be approached? What is the etiquette? There it is. what is the etiquette for reaching out to a recruiter?
So I think for me, and really, recruiters are individuals, so
Mhm.
we're not going to all have the same answer. But for me, if it is that you are looking for a specific role, um,
Mhm.
then I would like for you to be able to tell how you best fit that role. I think a lot of people will reach, or a lot of people do reach out and say, "Hey, I'm interested in a job at MinTech Agency. Here's my resume."
You're like, okay.
I know. I've had people say, "Oh, like, here's my resume. What job do you have for me?" And it's just, I'm not going to do that job for you. That's
Mhm.
that you have to do. I can't tell you, the experience that you have. I mean, I can go off of your resume and tell,
Mhm.
what fits you, but if you don't put in, at least that effort and at least that much work to
Mhm.
find out what job fits you, then maybe you're not going to be a good fit for any of the jobs that I have, because, we're looking for people who are able to take control of, their own work,
Mhm.
who are able to not be lazy. So
Mhm.
I think that is really important in just making sure that, when you come to me, "Hey, Alex, I saw that you are looking for a Java developer. I have 5 years of Java experience. Here's a copy of my resume. I would love to speak with you regarding this role." That would be great. That would be an ideal way for people to reach out. Um,
Mhm.
because then I see that, before I even open up your resume, I see that you have the 5 years that are required for that specific role. So I think it's that, making sure when you approach a recruiter, that you're able to articulate exactly what you want. And even if that
Mhm.
is that, maybe I don't have a job, or you did look at our website and we don't have a job that fits you, saying, "Hey, Alex, I really wanted to reach out to you. I was really interested in your last post. I love what you guys are doing at MinTech Agency. I didn't see any roles that fit me, but I would love to just connect." So something of that nature. If you're reaching out to me and telling me to do work, I'm not going to do that. So I think it's just making sure that you have the right approach.
That was awesome, because my favorite thing is for someone, as a career coach, is for someone to be like, I I'm a good communicator, I'm a leader, and I like animals. What job should I get? And I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea like what the reason that you're coming to me is because we're going to figure this out together. I'm not just going to hand you a list of jobs. And what you were saying, it makes complete sense of what I've been trying, to tell people and clients and stuff. You have to think about, not only recruiters are people, they are human beings, and they don't want you to like throw your resume in their face and be like, find your job. They want to know that A, you have the qualifications, and B, that it's going to be mutually beneficial. Because if someone comes at you, like you just said, and they say they have the experience and their resume looks good, doesn't that, I'm not saying like they're the candidate, but I feel like that's beneficial to you and them, because now you can look at it and you're like yes or no, and it's made your job a little bit easier versus having to go like find people and stuff. And they get the opportunity to reach out to a recruiter, and if the recruiter says no, then they can go back and kind of figure out, like what went wrong, or maybe they can even ask you like, what can I do better? But I think people need to come at it as, this is mutually beneficial. This isn't just people. Your job is to not give them a job. Your job is to make sure you find the best candidate for this position, whether it be them or someone else. A lot of times people are like, a recruiter is going to find me a job. No, a recruiter is going to get you a job if you're a good candidate for the job.
Yeah,
It's your job to make yourself the good candidate.
you're absolutely right. So it doesn't just stop at your resume, the interview. It is all of that. as to whether a candidate would be the right candidate going through that process. So I think that it definitely helps me as a recruiter. Like I said, if someone reaches out to me and explains to me, why they are a good fit for a role, I think that, shows that they are a go-getter and someone that I would be interested in speaking with.
Definitely. And I like that a lot of people, they either think that the recruiter owes them all of their time or they're either scared. So it's like either or. And I'm just like, they're people, guys. It's okay. They will not like cuss you out. It's okay. Like you can reach out.
Yeah, people are definitely welcome to reach out. I think it's just having the right approach.
Gotcha. And so with being a recruiter and just the kind of, I know maybe it kind of gets hectic, ton of people, you're always talking to people all day, trying to fill roles. Can you talk a little bit about maybe you don't have a typical day, but can you talk about a day in the life of a recruiter?
So a day in the life of a recruiter, some days can be very much the same. Some days can be very, different. I am the sort of recruiter who enjoys building relationships and being relationship building, from a job seeker standpoint as well as from a recruiter standpoint is very important because, like I said, there are people who, may reach out and maybe I don't have anything for them, but making sure that, I'm cultivating that relationship is really important because one day I may have that opportunity for them. So for me, my day really consists of making sure that I am keeping in contact with candidates, whether they are going through an interview process currently, making sure that they're up to date. If I am sourcing for candidates, so looking for candidates for open positions that I have available, and reaching out to them to start that conversation or to build that conversation. I also interview candidates based on those conversations that I have and those opportunities. And then as an agency recruiter, I keep in contact with the hiring managers and the clients that we are sourcing or placing candidates with. And those are really, the gist of my days. Some days are a little bit different, depending on, which is more heavy. Maybe I have more calls that I have to make one day as opposed to more interviews the next day. Usually my hope is that I make enough calls one day that the next day I'm doing a bunch of interviews and so that's always the hope. That's always the goal, is to kind of have that flow of of things. So that would be, I would say, my most ideal day.
Nice. I think definitely I've seen a rise of people, at least like in the groups that I'm in, I've seen a rise of people trying to like break into HR recruiting. And I think I don't mind talking to people all day, especially because as a recruiter or like even in HR for the most part, if you're on the employee side versus like the benefits and all that stuff, when you're on that side, for the most part, you got to cross your fingers. People are on somewhat of their best behavior. So you just got to hope and pray that they're going to act right. But recruiting the industry has been booming. And I think what people kind of fail to realize is I wrote this in one of the blog posts that I just recently dropped. Like, recruiters are for every industry. So how you're tech, there's like financial recruiters and there's like sports athletic recruit, like it's tons of different recruiters, and just knowing which one to kind of reach out to is going to make all the difference for people that want to get into, like you said, Scrum Masters, and they want to get into coding or programming. They'd reach out to a tech recruiter versus someone who wants to get in finance. They'll reach out to, someone in the financial sector. And so where do you, I guess, I don't know, you said you kind of not really in the tech space, but more in the recruiting, but are you seeing kind of an increase in people that are getting into tech as far as like new people, like the people that are getting certifications, but maybe not have so much the experience? Or are you seeing it kind of stay the same?
I don't know if I can necessarily answer that question. Like I said, at MinTech Agency, we specialize in mid to senior level roles. So most of the people that we are placing they have experience. I do know there are a lot of companies, and mostly the reason that we don't necessarily have like those entry level opportunities is because companies are able to fill those pretty quickly. So I would say that, from that aspect, then, yes, there are people who are getting into the industry every day. But like I said, we mostly work with people who are, mid to senior level.
Okay.
And one other thing that I wanted to say, just from, what you said earlier, I think it's really important, definitely the recruiter is the first person to talk to as far as, when there is a job opportunity that you see immediately online. But if I'm giving advice to people about breaking into an industry or into a company, go to the people that you want to work with. I think that is, really so important, is just making sure that you are reaching out and making those connections with people who you can ask questions about the job that you are interested in, asking about the culture on that team that you would be working with. So I think it's really important for people to, make those connections with people who will be in the, whose position either you'll be in or that would be a part of your team, because they're going to be the ones who are able to advocate for you, especially if you're someone kind of pivoting into a role or into a job. They're going to be the ones to be able to, advocate for you. Because for me as a recruiter, I'm looking for, those very specific skills. But if I have someone on that team telling me that, I really want to work with this person, that I really think they have what it takes, it kind of moves them ahead. More so for someone who would be an internal recruiter, but I can definitely say that would be, one piece of advice that I would give to everybody who's interested in moving into a different role or opportunity.
Nice. Okay. I like that. I think we keep going back to it, but it's so important that networking, finding yourself a mentor. I think especially in really in a lot of industries, but especially in tech, if you can find that mentor that's a couple, levels ahead of you, and they can help you kind of figure out the path that you want to go. I think that's going to be really great. What I'm doing right now, sorry, I was clicking as you were speaking. I was trying to pull back up your bio because we are running low on time, but I did want to go back to the point you made about diversity and inclusion, and how you're identifying and hiring underrepresented groups. So as a minority, as a woman, what are we, and this might be a very like philosophical question, but what do we need to be doing in order to break these glass ceilings and bust into these walls of tech? Like, what do you think that we should be doing?
I think I said it earlier, just, bringing that confidence, that you have, and making sure that you're advocating for yourself, making sure that you're identifying, where you see yourself, when you have those one-on-one conversations, especially in your current role, making sure that the powers that be, the people who have, who supervise you, know exactly where you're looking to go, and make sure that you, like you said, you have mentors or advocates or sponsors or whatever you want to call them on the inside of your role or in roles that you see yourself in. And making sure that they are aware of what you're looking for and making sure that they're advocating for you when you're not in the room. Those are really, really important. So that way we have people who are advocating for us, but we also make sure that we are advocating for ourselves and being completely confident in letting people know exactly what we want.
Love it. I think, confidence. It's something that it's got to be practiced. It's got to be learned. But at the end of the day, it's really going to take you far. And as far as like minorities and women getting into finance or not finance, tech or finance or really any space, I do think it's about not only being able to, like you said, advocate for yourself, but I also want people to remember that if you're in these spaces already and you understand what it feels like to kind of be struggling, but you've kind of made it mid-level, senior level, I would ask that you really think about reaching back and being somebody's mentor, being somebody's like confidant, being someone. Even if you help one person come up that ladder behind you, I think that's super important, because if we're all just trying to like bring up at least bare minimum one person, it's going to be so much growth and so much, like just people are going to thrive. And it's not about, like being selfish with it. You just want to share the love. You just want to share.
Absolutely right.
Awesome. I am trying to make sure. I believe what I'm doing, guys, right now is I was looking through some of the questions that people had for Alex, and I've kind of been poking them in through. I want to make sure that I've gotten to most of them, because a lot of these questions, Alex, you've kind of been answering them as you go. So I just want to make sure like the audience is getting their questions answered, because they'll come from me later if I don't ask you. So, okay. Awesome. Did that one. One random question, because I know we're almost out of time. Headhunters versus recruiters. Someone wanted to know, like, what's the difference? Is there a difference, or is it just like a terminology?
For the most part, I think it's just terminology. I think headhunter is kind of like an older term. I don't really hear, and that's not to offend. I don't want to offend anybody, but I think it's just kind of a different terminology. Mostly, the only other thing that I can say as far as like headhunters are kind of do just like one-off like executive hunting. So it's a little bit more strategic in the way that they look for candidates, because there are not very many. Those are definitely, we're all looking for passive candidates to some extent, but those are definitely people, from what I think of when I think of like a headhunter, I think they're looking for like real passive, C-suite candidates that
gotcha. Okay.
Have their resume out on LinkedIn or anything like that. But I think also just kind of is a different term.
Just a difference in that's what I thought. But I was like, let me ask the expert about it. I was like, I think it's just terminology, and like versus like some older people use headhunter, and then some of the younger generation use recruiter. But no, awesome. Definitely now they can't get mad at me for not asking. But I want to thank you so much, Alex. Real quick, guys, I want to tell you guys how she and I met. We actually met on Clubhouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we were in a room together on Clubhouse. We were talking and chatting. And then we've done Clubhouse events or Clubhouse rooms together. And when I was coming up with like what I wanted to talk about, when I was coming up for my content, I had like a pretty big segment on recruiters. And I was like, you know what? I got to ask her to be on. So I want to thank you for doing this interview. I'm sure people are getting a lot of information from you, and they are just either they want to approach a recruiter because they want a job, or some people just want to be a recruiter. So I'm sure they got a lot out of this. Can you let people know where to find you and any other information while I write your IG again, because it went away?
Yes, so on Instagram, you can find me at AP the Recruiter. Also, you can find me on LinkedIn at Alexandria Powell. MPA is attached to my name, and so you can find me there. If you definitely feel free to reach out to me if you tell me that Jordan referred you to me, or that you heard me speaking with Jordan. I will definitely answer.
Awesome. I'm trying to put it back. Okay. So again, thank you, Alex. Guys, make sure you reach out to her if you have any questions. What area is that in? Do you guys just is it all over or just local?
So MinTech is based out of Nashville, but most of our opportunities are pretty national. A lot of remote opportunities, and I'm actually outside of Philadelphia.
Okay, awesome. So if you guys head on over, her bio will be in the description of this video, guys, and her Instagram. Head on over if you guys, remote opportunities, huge. We didn't even touch on that, but I will make sure that we get some information on that up on my Instagram and on the blog. But guys, reach out to her, ask her questions, especially if you're looking to break into tech. Make sure you guys talk to her. So you guys, this is going to be up on my channel for a little while, but I'm going to put this one in the vault, and that's basically for my VIP email subscribers, because I feel like this was such a great interview that I'm going to give it to my VIP clients. So if you want to catch the replay of this after I take it down off of YouTube, you can go to the Boss Vault, and I'll have that down in the description below. Make sure you guys sign up for that. Again, Alex, thank you so much for chatting with me today, and I hope to collab with you again in the near future.
Thank you so much for having me, Jordan. You have a good night.
All right, you as well. All right, guys, have a good one.